and let's see how it ends up playing out. Game number 1 of the Grand Finals, Keith going to be picking up the sword immediately and then throwing it away because there is a Priya on the screen. And if there is a Priya, that means no sword, all chakram.
Oh, he's able to still pick the chakram back up. Yet another weapon stripped from the field from Vortex. He's able to grab the chakram here. It definitely feels like Keith has so much more aura here. The way he's moving, like his APM is like way up compared to Vortex.
Oh, Vortex popping out that GC side. So Keith with an amazing punish using that end light. That was just perfectly spaced. Vortex was in just the right position above him.
Yeah, it feels like he knew exactly how to use that correctly. Vortex had like corner control, and he's actually doing a great job of catching Keith as he comes in for the landing and moves back to the stage for safety.
Vortex with a jump call out with a side A, goes off stage, amazing, but it's still not enough to be able to get the stock. The downer into the cell is not going to be able to connect that time around, and Keith, he's looking for his side sig. Vortex finds a side sig, but that wasn't enough to actually KO, which I'm kind of surprised about.
It was all the way from the left side of the screen, so there was just enough distance to cover for Keith to be able to survive that one. Vortex, he's shown his Priya, at least so far in this game, seemingly much more practice than Keith. I can't remember if that was the case that we talked about earlier. Level 24, yes. So Vortex has more time on Priya than Keith does. It's level 24 to level 15 that we mentioned earlier.
We'll see what Keith is going to be able to make happen. Going through the weapon toss up, picking it back up, probably going to be tossing it away in favor of the chakrams, but Vortex just ends up picking it up anyways.
Sword is back. You heard it here first.
Well, Swirly needs to get this KO first, and so how do you do that? Well, the answer is a D-Light, but that's not going to matter. The chakrams are back on the screen, chakrams are back in the game, and Keith going to be taking out that first stock off of Vortex without taking too much damage.
Yeah, Vortex definitely have a really strong showing game 1. That had to have been a misinput in the direction that he wanted to throw that weapon. I'm sure he wanted to throw it back towards the stage, closer to where Keith was, rather than just like over onto the left side. But Vortex, I mean, he's showing that he's more practiced on Priya, at least so far. That could all change very quickly, but at least so far he's showing that he's the kind of more practiced player.
Vortex is beginning to overshoot really well. Keith is the one that's trying to play back, trying to play second beat, not initiate first, but then Vortex is spacing and has, like, his aggression has been succeeding so well for him. So, let's see what he's able to do here. Oh, they're both jumping around each other. Vortex able to find a recovery, catching Keith's whiff. Getting the same exact punish.
Oh, he almost got a sick read with that neutral signature. Oh, he almost got the spacing on that too. Keith wasn't able to punish it though.
Landing with the side A. Vortex has the stage control at the moment, continuing to opt for the chakrams. He's looking for that D-Sig finisher. The recovery is still not going to be enough to be able to take it off the top. Keith has been left weaponless. You can't really punish that side sig, but he goes out there for the downer, and that was enough. That was enough to actually do it.
He
oh my goodness.
Picked up the down air at like the exact spot he needed to be stacked enough to find the hit, but not too stacked to where Vortex was able to touch the wall and reset his jumps. Interrupting the recovery there was so huge, but Vortex still absolutely in this game. He has maybe 60 damage on this stock. He was able to turn around and get the KO very quickly. If he can keep Keith weapon starved or force him onto sword for long enough.
Let's see what he's able to do. Okay. Vortex just going up with the recovery, dealing so much damage onto Keith, has now evened up the game. Let's see if he's able to pick up a lead for himself, not able to get the double downer. Keith is gonna find it instead. Gets the N-Sig as well. Vortex is in a nasty position off stage, goes through the weapon toss, splits the chakrams once more, able to get the recovery. Vortex has not been able to get himself out of this blender.
Ooh, I don't know if he meant to put that down air into the stage as sort of like a bait, or if he meant to go over right along the wall and just misinputted that. If it's a bait, that could be very interesting. Oh, okay, the D-Sig comes in, and that time Vortex is not able to punish it with his own Sig. A D-Sig again, that time it does get punished. We have last stocks red here, Dara.
That's right, Keith is the one that is left weaponless, jumping away into safety, playing this as slow as he needs to. He tries to go for the recovery, but Vortex just says, hey, I've got Chakram down, and that's gonna outspace you every single day of the week. Keith continues to be starved of a weapon, throws out the neutral layer. Keith, you cannot punish that side sig, you're too far back. Oh my gosh,
he does
Vortex
it with
does
sword.
it.
He does it with sword. The side air. Oh my gosh, it's a high damage game. 644 damage from Vortex. That's just under 215 on average per stock. That is, part of that is Demon Island. I'll give him credit there for part of that being Demon Island's fault. Same thing if you're on like a Mos Eisley, but there is a little bit of KO inefficiency.
It's fault. It's that's just kind of how split chakrams end up going, which is if you're not finding those like super early stocks off the top, which we actually haven't seen today yet. We've seen a lot of attempts to do so. We've seen a lot of the vertical combos. We've not actually seen it result in somebody getting knocked out. Then the answer is down to side of edge guards potentially, because nobody wants to play them fused. Nobody wants to play them fused. Everybody wants to play them split, and so we'll be seeing a lot of that KO inefficiency, just like you mentioned. So Sword, in that case, I feel like is a little bit more consistent at finding those KOs, but we actually haven't seen any D-Light recovery whatsoever. It's just been straight hits from Sword, I feel like, more than anything. So we're going into the next game. Vortex trying to get something going here. Again, nobody has been losing their stock off the top. People have been relatively safe here.
Yeah, it's like all of the extended strings have started just a little bit too early in the stock. If they were a little bit later and you're sort of getting into that orange territory whenever they, by the time the actual string is over, that's when you find them being taken off the top. But they've really only been in like the very beginning stages of yellow, so they don't have enough variable force on it to take off the top just yet. Okay, Keith barely touching that corner. You saw the sweat beads coming out.
Goes for the recovery. Vortex not going to be able to punish it. You have so much drift on recovery. You can make it so ambiguous. Look at the horizontal distance that Keith has on it. They're not able to touch each other.
Yeah, we talk about spear, like recovery being the helicopter, but it really does feel like chakram recovery lets you be the helicopter with how far you can drift left and right.
That's right. Helicopter 2. Vortex, though, he is coming up in the stock lead once again. He's doing a lot better than he did in all of Winners Finals.
D-Light recovery! Thara, we saw it! Sword is back!
We saw it. So it is so back. We've just gotten nostalgic for, well, maybe it's actually too soon to say nostalgic for Sword D-Light recovery, but it's just been a while. There's been a lot of chakrams on the screen. Keith has evened up the game. Now the question is, can he even up this damage?
Ooh,
okay.
Keith. Started that one off with a Neutralite. He's probably been using Neutralite better than Vortex has been so far as one of his like main starters into the juggle. Whereas like Vortex is starting a lot of his juggles either from the dare or he's starting it essentially aerially.
Mm-hmm. Side light, end light as well. Goes out there for the side, you're not going to be able to get it. Tries to chase dodge up and look for the downer. They're just exchanging hits. They're going blow for blow. This game is just about as even as you could possibly ask for. Somebody's gonna side six sometime soon. I feel it.
Yep,
okay.
There it is. you called it out. You couldn't even finish your statement. You were so on.
Oh my god. Okay. I felt it. Whenever the player just gets like a little too impatient about getting the KO, they're like, I'm gonna side sig and it's gonna be ambiguous, but I see it coming. Oh, okay. Vortex with the sword side sig. Nicely done. Able to take it off the side. Once again, holding on to this lead.
Okay, kind of babysitting Keith back to the stage. The recovery coming out. Ooh. Big whiff on that side light. Let's see if Keith can juggle and get the KO here. There's the recovery. We have a much more even game than I expected.
Mm-hmm. Side light, end light, side A. Looking for the reset. Keith just able to get some good damage. Vortex gonna be looking for his opening now. The startup of down air ended up getting called out. Vortex almost finding a nasty down air recovery, but he was up a little bit too high and not able to actually connect it.
Yeah, he's been finding some good down airs to contest Keith as he's sort of like going on that like neutral air recovery ladder up to the top. He's been doing that kind of more than I've seen some of the other Chakram players who are just like trying to panic and get out of it as quickly as they can, whether that's using their dodge. And Vortex is using the down air as a weapon there as well.
This is like watching two Beyblades fight, you know, the entire time. They're just, they're going at it. They're looking for the same things. Oh my gosh. Keith looking for the downer, able to get the sidelight pickup still. Vortex dodging up, finally going to be able to pick up the sword. But the question, is it too late? Keith goes out there for the edge guard. Vortex gets back on for only a second to only eat another cell. Is he going to be able to make it back on? And the answer is no, he is not.
I guess his dodge was not off of cooldown in time. Like, I saw him throw his weapon away, and I was like, a little bit confused by that, just because you might have the GC side sig as a potential option to get over to the wall. Like, that would give you more than, I think, anything else that he could do in that moment. But I guess he burned his dodge. We see it on the replay. Yeah, okay, he burned his dodge there. I thought he burned it a little bit earlier, like some players will do. But it probably, at the beginning of his recovery back to the stage, wasn't off of cooldown from, like, the last time that he used it, so he had to use it late instead of using it early, so that you can hope to get 2 dodges by the time you get over back to the stage.
So going into game 3, this feels like the most doable set, the most doable position for Vortex between the two of them so far. I'm trying to think about, it's so difficult to like really figure out like what differentiates the two of them, because when it comes to Chakram, I feel like stylistically nobody's really doing anything too different at the moment. They're looking for the same things, they're looking for the same exact openings, and the question is who is just able to have like more ambiguous drift, who's able to have the recovery safer, and who's going to be the first one to take that early stock off the top. We'll just have to find out, because that I feel like is a lot of what Priya is constantly looking for. That is the constant X factor that she has, and nobody's gotten that yet.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's single moment based, as in like, oh, Keith is gonna find like a nasty neutral signature read, or Vortex finds like the side sig that he wants to hit, as opposed to like, oh, these two players are playing Chakram differently over the entire course of the match. And that's like, if we think back to, that's kind of the way that Scythe was originally when it came out. Like the two people originally like playing Scythe successfully and like pushing Scythe were mostly playing like Nair Sair ladders, and that was their setup. It was Inlight, Nair Sair, Nair Sair, Nair Sair, all that kind of stuff. And they were playing the weapon very similarly, and now we see as the weapon was like mastered over the years, like then the skill expression comes out. But initially, like people play it basically the same because they know it works.
Oh, Vortex looking for the recovery. Again, not enough to be able to take this off the top. Keith is so behind. Vortex has an amazing lead. The recovery is going to be able to do it. And this is the biggest lead that we've seen from Vortex so far. He's picking up momentum.
Yeah, this is huge. Keith's first weapon after respawning. Okay, that weapon spawn came in a lot more quickly than I expected it to, so Vortex wasn't able to get over to that. I thought Keith was going to be weaponless after picking up the first sword, but it's not really a problem. Okay, could be the setup for the edge guard. Out comes the recovery.
Oh, huge damage off the top here. Keith going to be going out there again, able to finally get the punish on the down air. That is huge. You want to stay below the platform. Priya is definitely not the strongest above a platform when it comes to her landing, because the down air is not able to go through it. So you're able to get almost like a little bit closer than you normally would.
We're even seeing like that ground pound that just came out from Keith on Chakram. Like, we haven't really seen hardly any ground pounds whatsoever, except from Vortex that we saw last game. And so he sees like Vortex do that, and he's like, oh, that's a new thing that I could do, and then he does that. So even like when Vortex will take like a step forward and do something he wasn't doing previously on the weapon, Keith like also, he's right there in lockstep with them. So they're both learning the same things.
Hey, whiffing the sidelight, that's going to be a bit of an opening for Keith here. What's it going to be? Again, they're both just mixing up the drift after these recoveries and after these downers as much as possible, and they're guessing a little bit. They're guessing on like each other's momentum and drift, and they're both just kind of looking for like the same leads, you know?
There's the neutral signature. Beautiful grab, reaching back towards the stage and then sending to the right side. So that's exactly the territory that you want to hit that in.
Sidelight and light. Keith waiting. Vortex landing with a downer.
Yeah, Chakram, they really are just that, like, a lot of it is a game of drift.
It's just about having that ambiguous drift and being like, hey, do you think that you can punish me here? Or are you just gonna whip something in my face and then I'll be able to get a punish on you? So it's just about like constantly baiting that from your opponent, and they're both looking for, honestly, the same exact thing here.
Yeah, you even see that in their punishes, right? Like we saw one moment earlier where like Vortex initiated with the sidelight and then it missed, so Keith counter-initiated. He punished with the sidelight as well. So they're both looking for the essentially the same things, whether they're like turn 1 or turn 2 of the initiation.
Okay, nice wait though, just catching the dodges down constantly. The D-Sig through the amazing coverage. Is this going to be it? Is Keith going to be able to make it back onto the stage? Vortex is holding it down, backing up, giving him a bit of space. And Light is a get off me option. Beautifully done. And now all of a sudden, this is not impossible for Keith, but he is very behind in damage.
Throws that away instantly, doesn't even want to like fish for the recovery. He'd rather go unarmed recovery, grabs the Chakram. Man, Keith has to play like basically perfect, and he's not able to, of course, because humans are not perfect. And Vortex finds the side air for the KO. 616 damage, so still relatively high damage, up 205, a little bit over 205 per stock, compared to Keith and 366. If you add, well, I guess that's about the same. If you add probably the 180-ish damage, you're getting close to that. So relatively high damage numbers games, and that's what you were talking about earlier. Sometimes if you go to like a Mos Eisley or a Demon Island, it's even more, but regardless, you're still going to have higher damage games because they're only playing split.
Yeah, that's right. They are not going to be finding, immediate KOs off of a heavy attack or anything anytime soon. And then some of the signatures, they don't tend to always be the strongest either. We're seeing a lot of D-Sig attempts, but the D-Sigs have not been actually connecting this set around for either of them. So we're going into the next one. We're going on to Demon Island. So if you liked high damage numbers and you like long games, well, Demon Island is going to be probably the continuation of exactly that. Keith finding a huge three-piece, nicely done.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see more signatures this game. Like we saw like a D-Sig last game that missed. We also saw like Vortex's neutral signature connect on Western Air Temple and actually get the KO that we talked about. I wonder if that will be the case here, and they're looking for more of the left and right KOs rather than vertical KOs off the top.
Yeah, we have not seen anything off the top this entire day today, which, again, I want to emphasize, that is super, super atypical for Priya. Like, this is typically the thing that she's getting once a game, at minimum once or twice in an entire set, and we have not seen that at all today. Vortex picking up the Chakrams once more.
We've already seen several neutral signatures come out from Keith, so he's looking for the signature KOs so he can get those KOs a little bit earlier than just relying on light attacks, and he's also looking for things that send left and right.
Again, just the ambiguous drift. The N-Light is able to successfully punish the downer, and that is going to be it off the top. Finally, one of those stocks gone. Keith with a very gentle lead for himself, a very delicate lead. Vortex picking up the sword, going through the weapon toss. Ooh, that's going to be a punish.
He's just going to run away. He's going to completely shark until he can get over and safely grab the weapon. Once that sword leaves his hand, he's definitely he's getting out of dodge very quickly. They're both going to recover over the corner, onto the wall. Vortex, he just didn't have enough. You saw the sweat beads come out. Like he wanted that KO off the top. He was sticking around. Oh my gosh!
Huge damage. Oh my goodness.
Vortex is really starting to fall behind here because Keith is adding this damage up. Almost a full stock lead, and Vortex just can't find the KO moves. He's adding up like one hit, but then he's taking 4 or 5 in the process, and he's already behind. And that one hit he finds is not a KO move.
You can see Sidesig. It's able to actually connect. It's able to sweep in. Vortex able to go ahead and find that KO. Wow.
I think that signature gravity cancel is probably like pretty solid, but I just don't think it's the like best thing against specifically Chakram because they are up and down. They're in the air so much. So if you GC it and you're playing against someone who's like more grounded, potentially like a greatsword, you can get over some of their moves. Okay, Vortex getting some momentum here, at least on his side in the moment. But the potential, yeah, there's the bounce pass There's the down air into the recovery for the KO off the top. But yeah, if you're going against a more grounded player, someone who's not playing Chakram, then like the GC side stick on sword could be solid. Just a little bit off the ground to get over their low moves. But against Chakram, you have to make a lot of guesswork based on where they are, whether they're on the ground, whether they're in the air, they're up and down, one jump height, two jump height, up and down, up and down.
Landing with a downer, able to get a save. Vortex going out there again, able to find that two-piece. He goes out there for the edge guard, which is so dangerous because Keith always has that reversal potential. Vortex does make it back on mostly safely, though. Being patient, eating the side light, eating the end light.
I'm waiting for Keith to potentially come in with a ground pound. Now, we just saw Vortex do the ground pound. He may not have to do it. Maybe able to take it very soon after Vortex is going to whiff a neutral signature right in front of his face and think he can get away with that. Would disarm?
The back hit of the D-Sig, not enough to be able to KO, but breakdancing on him. Vortex is finally able to take out Keith's second stock there. Keith has been keeping up a pretty consistent lead for himself. He's been finding consistent KOs off the top. He picks up the sword. What's it gonna be? He's looking for the D-Light. Vortex not anywhere near the ground though, and just able to find a big downer punish.
Keith forced onto the sword here. Weapon spawn comes in right as he throws his sword away. Vortex is going to play around it, swap him out. Great strip. Keith is going to be looking for the weapon. There it is. This is very scary for Vortex. Oh, he waits and gets the reaction of the KO off the top. Keith forces the game 5, denies the reset at least so far.
Yeah, Keith, he has established an early lead. This is almost completely the inverse from the last game. Keith ended up dealing 660 damage. Vortex only ended up dealing 440 over the course of that game. He has just been so much more consistent in getting the damage up, and then he found the KOs where it mattered most. Again, one of the big difficulties with Priya is that it can be difficult to secure like those final hits, to be able to get those stocks. That time around, even if they were on Demon Island, Keith was just able to find every single setup that he needed. He got him. He connected every single recovery that he needed off the top at just the right damage. He made sure that Vortex did not live long enough for him to be able to make a comeback on those deep red stocks. So, it is game 5. It is grand finals. It is Keith sitting on a winner's side here. If Vortex, of course, takes this game, it's going to be another set coming up ahead of them. And if he takes it, he takes it all.
So on that stat screen, I don't know if this has been the trend. I just noticed it specifically on that last game, but Vortex is throwing out a lot more. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're going to see something on the top. No, again, it's just a little bit too early. Just a little bit too early in the stock. But Keith is throwing out more attacks, significantly more. About like 25% more, at least in last game, than Vortex was, but he was hitting significantly fewer of them. He only hit like 20-ish of his attacks last game compared to Vortex, who had a higher accuracy but fewer attacks, but he's still hitting more attacks. So Keith's attacks that he's hitting are just more impactful than the ones that Vortex is hitting. So Keith is finding the KO moves when he needs to find them, and Vortex is just finding damage moves when he needs KO.
That's right. Oh, Vortex, that recovery was somehow still not enough to be able to do it all the way up to sidelight. And light, Keith is waiting. He's waiting out the dodge. Vortex is looking for any possible safe landing that he can get. That recovery is basically going to be unpunishable. Sidelight ends up whiffing.
Nice.
Keith, the D-Sig coverage from behind and above.
I wonder how many dodges that covers, because it seems like it covers like several of them. I just wonder the exact number of how many that it covers.
Yeah, I got a number for you. It's called almost all of them. Yeah, I think the only thing is maybe probably not like away. That'd be probably the only thing, but yeah, I'm surprised that it hit that high off the top.
I would imagine like straight up gets you away, up and away gets you away. I would imagine maybe even left, or sorry, away, just left and right gets you out of that as well.
Ooh, okay. Looking for the end light, looking for the double. Not going to be able to get it. Vortex whips another recovery. Keith respects it that time around, and Vortex is finally able to find one of his own to get that stock.
Vortex not too far behind here. Keith is going to come in with the sword, instantly thrown away. It does hit, but he's not really super focused on going back and grabbing it to essentially throw it again until he gets the weapon spawn.
Yeah, he's not getting close to Vortex without chakrams. He's like, that's fine. I'm just waiting for my weapon at the moment.
Another recovery as well. Okay.
Vortex going through the weight, looking for the call out, not able to get it. Lands it a downer through the platform. Recovery. That's another Enlight setup here, just dodging up and jumping up and away. Vortex was able to successfully reset neutral. Sidelight, Enlight, decent coverage, doing exactly what Keith did to him in that last stock.
Man, they're so even. Keith is just a little bit ahead. Again, both of them looking for the down air. Over to set up the edge guard to get the side air follow-up. There's the recovery from Keith. Not enough just yet. Throwing away, grabbing the chakra back again.
Able to
that's
do
a nice
recovery.
disarm.
Still not enough, though. Oh no, the side sig, it's able to reach, it's able to lean over a little bit too far to the left side of the stage. It's not going to be able to KO there. Keith, the exclamation marks, the stage yelling at him to get back on. He was out there, he was off stage a little bit too long. That didn't KO.
They're even now.
Being so patient. Keith just barely...
He's not going to grab it.
What is he doing?
He's not going to grab it, because then he's going to be without it when he spawns back in. He'd rather just wait to spawn back in and get the weapon that he chooses. Now there are 2 spawns on the field.
Huh. Oh, okay. Vortex almost going to be sneaking out a really early stock, though. Keith, he needs just about anything to go ahead and close this one out.
Okay.
There
That's
is.
exactly what he was waiting for. Gonna juggle the weapons to delay the next spawn. Is the next weapon for Vortex Chakram? Okay, it is. Because there was that weapon spawn in the field, and I thought he needed to prime it, but the fact that he didn't made me realize and believe that he's definitely keeping track, and he knows that Chakram's coming next. This is
down
going to be it. Okay.
They're going. They just kept switching positions. Oh my gosh.
I thought that was going to be it there,
That could
but
have been
again,
either of them.
we pointed that out earlier as like Vortex kind of shutting down some of that aerial momentum. He even does it right there. It clashes out, but shutting down the aerial momentum with the like instant attack for the down air. Rather than trying to like just get greedy and steal the stock off the top, he's like, I could lose my stock here. So I'll throw out the down air, and that's the best choice. Smartest choice.
The side sig. It called out Vortex successfully. He's off stage. Keith tried to cover with the end sig, but the platform was up a little bit too high. Vortex was able to get back down safely. The end sig was not enough to KO. This is last stock each. Game 5. Keith able to pick up the chakrams, able to get the side. He has Vortex off stage, and he's able to do it. And he did it fused.
He denied the reset in Game 5 of Grand Finals. Wow. He did it fused. Wow. Keith the Poo-Poo coming out here on top. He is your Southeast Asian